Yeah, on the plus side, they did complete the main tower of the Sagrada Familia. He was like have they canonized Gaudi? Pope puts architect and the Pope has put him on the path to sainthood as of last year. He kind of deserves it, man. He was crazy devout. You know, while working on the Sagrada Familia, he was living off of like milk and spinach or whatever. He was like, I need not physical. He was like a fucking monk. I don't need physical pleasure because my only pleasure is like building a house of God or whatever. It's like I don't know. I feel like he deserves canonization. The way it dominates the skyline, so deliberately impressive. Hey, I've been to Barcelona. In my humble opinion, because the hostel that I stayed at had like a nice balcony that overlooked the city. Really good vibes from the Sagrada Familia. Really good vibes. Not at all like an oppressive. When you look at the shit Gaudi made, you know he was a humanist. From from the sculptures overlooking the entrances to the basilica. It's a basilica, right? It is a basilica, yes? They haven't non-basilica. Yeah, it's a basilica. From the statues overlooking the entrances to the basilica, to the fact that he had a school built on the grounds of the basilica so that the children of the construction workers could get a free education. He was pretty goated, man. Also, he's like an insanely talented artist, or he was. He's dead now and has been for a while. But nah, he was a good one. Yeah. Wonder if it's the same plan from start to finish. Yeah. The people working on the basilica every day spend like 8 hours praying to the ghost of Gaudi, so to receive instruction on how to continue. They're continuing in his in his name and with his designs as best as they can. Don't you have to heal people to be a saint? Well, you have to do 2 miracles, but I feel like the Catholic Church can make what I mean, they're always making them up, right? They could make up 2 miracles for Gaudi. All they need to do is find a couple examples of like blind children getting to see again after visiting the basilica. Considering the fact that 50 million people visit every year, they'll probably find the miracles they need.
Well, Pope Leo has celebrated Barcelona's famous Sagrada Familia Basilica, holding a mass and ceremony to inaugurate its newest tower.
So is it actually finished now? Nope, just the main tower.
The procession also marks the centenary of the death of its architect, Antoni Gaudi, and drew more than 100,000 people to the streets of Barcelona. Professor Marc Barry is a world-renowned architect who has carried out extensive work on the Sagrada Familia, and he joins me now from Adelaide. Professor Barry, good to have you with us. It's a privilege to be finished at the Sagrada Familia.
Which would be...
Look at that shit, man. It's like a mountain.
Right at the end of the building facing the sea. That's quite an important component, but as I like to remind everybody, many of the great medieval cathedrals didn't get their main facades until some time later. Barcelona Cathedral, which I think is 1200 onwards, didn't get its 2 kilometers away from the basilica.
Dog, just show me the inside, man. It's so pretty. It's a miracle building.
Barcelona's skyline for nearly a century and a half. And it's still under construction. Montjuic. This one.
It's like a dream come
Show me
true.
the inside.
Profoundly Catholic he was. I think he always had this wonderful capacity for joy, for playfulness.
Gaudi was extraordinary architect. He created beauty.
It's extraordinary. Gaudi. Jordi Fauli is chief architect. He began working here in 1990.
Gaudi explained that will be as a forest.
He wanted this to resemble a forest.
And also he designed this structure, columns that are divided in different branches to support all the weight of the church only with these internal trees.
Those trees have knots, see? Nature figures throughout the basilica. A staircase resembling a snail shell, honeycomb-like hexagons, and that forest of columns reveals another fixation, geometry.
He devoted 2 years to achieve this column, a column that starts with a square.
You see a square on this side.
The square is transformed into an octagon, 16-size polygons, and
you have a circle on the other side.
Antoni Gaudi was commissioned in 1883 at just 31, not by a Catholic diocese, but a local book dealer. He worked on the church for 43 years, in the end living on the construction site. Exactly 100 years ago, June 7th, 1926, Gaudi was crossing this street when he was struck by a tram. He was so disheveled that no one recognized him. Ultimately, he was taken to a hospital where he died of his injuries 3 days later.
Is this not like a saintly way to die? Like you've dedicated your life to building this enormous basilica that overlooks the whole city, and then you get hit by a tram and nobody recognizes you because you're just like an old man? Is this not like it's very like Christ-like in a way, isn't it? You know, the humility juxtaposed with the sort of kingly nature.
It's almost a state funeral when he dies, because by that time, the Catalan identity had become enshrined in Gaudi's personality.
But when he died at age 73...
Sounds like he wasn't paid properly. Dog, he did not need money. Like, he didn't use it. He literally lived like a monk. I mean, he was just making stuff. All over Barcelona, there are buildings that's his. That just, like, families would be like, here's $1 million, make this. And he would, and then he would just keep eating like spinach and milk.
Only about 10 to 15% of the structure was complete.
He knew he wouldn't live long enough to finish.
Exactly. And he left a lot of information in order to make possible that in the future his successors will build following his ideas, his project.
Those ideas were mostly in the form of models. But divining Gaudi's intentions has required detective work, because during the Spanish Civil War, anarchists protesting the Catholic Church set fire to parts of the structure and smashed Gaudi's models into 8,000 pieces.
All this bit here in the center, these are original bit from Gaudi. All these towers are made of these triangular windows.
Esteve Humbert is one of the architects.
So this is an original picture of that window. This is the same geometry as we can see in this picture. Because we have that bit, people were able to reconstruct what's missing. Here we have
Gaudi left geometric clues to help with construction.
If you twist around the same axis, you can see that you get a hyperbolic paraboloid.
And this is
this shape.
Sophisticated software and modular construction have sped up building. It's all paid for by ticket sales. Over $150 million collected last year from nearly 5 million visitors. It's Spain's top tourist attraction. Walk around here and you'll likely see more selfie sticks than rosary beads. Protesters decrying over-tourism have shot water pistols at tour buses. And the basilica...
They're so fucking lame, dude. The Catalan nationals who are like, no, you can't visit our gorgeous city and appreciate our godly monuments built for the wonder and majesty of all mankind. No, our prosperous first world tourist hub city can't handle the... It'd be like being anti-tourist if you live in fucking New York City. It's one thing if you're like a little Italian or Greek villa or whatever, but Barcelona can handle it. Catalan nationalists are fucking low IQ.
Has endured aesthetic critiques.
Not everyone loves this building. Some call this kitsch. To those critics of Gaudi's design...
Anyone who calls this kitsch, like, that should be a crime under Spanish law.
What do you say?
The people could have his opinion, it's normal, no? But all we build, it's according to our ideas.
But I wonder, are there times you disagree with what Gaudi has decided?
Never, never.
Significant work still lies ahead.
I empathize with anti-tourism movements, though. It's really gotten out of hands in many places. Yeah, and like Hawaii. Like the places where tourism is economically destructive are places where Westerners go to resorts and siphon all the money out of the local economy. And the only way to get a job as a local in these places is to work at the resorts or whatever. But New York City, London, Paris, Barcelona, these are like world cities that are meant to be visited. Like you're not, it's not about you. I'm sorry. If you're some fuck-ass Catalan nationalist who really wants independence so that you don't have to pay taxes to support the rest of the poor Spanish nation, like I'm just not that sympathetic. Just imagine a guy who lives in New York City and is like, no, New York Cities should be for local people. Just imagine being that guy, man.
Staircase Gaudi envisioned would require demolishing nearby homes and businesses, and the Guinness Book of World Records already says it's the oldest active construction site in the world.
When will the basilica be finished?
We don't know.
Don't know.
Never. Never.
We don't know, no.
10 years, 20 years?
We don't know. 10, 15, 20, we don't know.
Do you think you'll live to see the completion?
I don't know. Perhaps, I don't know.
Fauli may again appreciate his
New
predecessor.
York's a lot larger than Barcelona, though. Yeah, but like, it's literally a policy problem. Like, if the Spanish government wanted to make Barcelona more livable for its native residents, they could just build up the city. Like, it's always a policy problem. The only time it's not a policy problem is if the local government does not have enough money or does not have the resources to, like, weather the tourism. But Barcelona does. New York does. Paris does. London does. Again, the places where I'm sympathetic are places like the Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand, Hawaii, Greek islands, Italian islands, Caribbean, like places where the local government has basically no power. Like the only thing they could really do is just like block people from visiting. They don't have the power to reallocate the resources into reinvesting in the community. They absolutely do in Barcelona. It's not a real problem, you know? Oh no, I live in a metropolitan hub and my downtown area / wonder of the world is filled with tourists. Get over it, man. Hence the tourist tax question. I have no problem with tourist taxes. In fact, that's already a thing in Barcelona. If you are a resident of Barcelona, I'm pretty sure the train is free there. If you're not a resident of Barcelona, it sure as shit isn't. So when I went over there, I paid for the fucking train tickets. I got my week pass. That's fine. Nothing wrong with that. If you're a tourist, you're not paying taxes.
Predecessor's approach, for whom time was but an earthly concern. Gaudi said his client was God, and, quote, God is not in a hurry.
How do you feel about tourists on cruise port stops? I mean, the cruise lines are pretty evil for a variety of reasons, you know? My dad served his LDS mission in Spain and likes to talk about how weird Catholics are. Insane coming from a fucking Mormon. Atheists on suicide watch. Atheists on suicide watch when they realize that hell awaits them. No! When they grapple with the permanence and immortality of God's law and realize that there's no escape except contrition and kneeling in the face of God and accepting Christ as their savior. Fuck! God damn it! Who damn it? Fuck!
Antoni Gaudí was one of the most important architects of modernity. He was so innovative in his structural design as well as in his way of conceiving buildings, using techniques that no other architect had ever before used, and making buildings that resemble the characteristics of nature. Gaudí designed many private and public constructions, most of which are located in the city of
You see Mormons aren't Christians anymore? They're literally not.
Barcelona in Spain. But his biggest work, and probably the most important, was the expiatory temple of the Sagrada Familia. He worked for more than 40 years in the project, which was commissioned when he was 31 years old, and he would work on it until his death in 1926. The Sagrada Familia...
Gaudí was also like the only devout Catholic architect with the balls to realize that he wasn't locked in on Gothic architecture forever. Like you don't have to do like medieval Gothic or you know, like a post-Roman Catholic Church style construction. You can just do whatever, you know? God made everything. You can make a church look like a big seashell if you want to. That's fine. Like God made seashells. Why would he be mad at that?
is still under construction, but here you can see what the completed temple will look like, just as Gaudi intended it.
What do you think of Islamic architecture? I mean, that shit looks pretty good whenever I see it
joined
online.
the project in 1883. At the time, the only work that had been started was in the columns in the crypt. Gaudi started out with a plan for a Gothic revival church, although he gradually incorporated his early life.
I love the nativity facade, man. The statues that he
With
sculpted.
this exuberant representation of nature, Gaudi wanted to express the joy of creation at the advent of the Son of God. If you look closely, you will see that the facade is divided into 3 triangular
Like, look at this shit, dog. How the fuck do you even math this out, man?
portals, each of which is dedicated to a member of the Holy Family, or Sagrada Familia. The one on the left, known as the Portal of Hope, is dedicated to Saint Joseph. On the right, we have the Portal of Faith, dedicated to Virgin Mary. And in the middle is the Portal of Charity, dedicated to Jesus Christ. If you look up, at the top of the structure you will see a cypress tree. This is a tree of life, a symbol of hospitality and eternity. The white doves on its branches represent the souls that have attained salvation. You can see how the towers have many holes. Their main purpose is to project the sound of the bells inside. Gaudi envisioned the Sagrada Familia as if it were a musical instrument, a huge organ whose music would be heard throughout the city. On top of the tower, the pinnacles are covered with colorful mosaics, using a technique invented by Gaudi called trencadís. You can see this technique in most of Gaudi's buildings. The pinnacles depict the attributes of a bishop, a mitre with a cross, a crow's ear, and a ring. The construction surrounding the basilica is the cloister, which serves as a space that communicates the facades, the sacristies.
It's so detailed that, like, you can't even take it all in the video. Like, you actually just need an IMAX theater to appreciate just how much fucking detail there is in the facade.
Chapels. This is the only facade that the architect saw completed before dying. Knowing that it would be impossible for him to finish the project, he wanted this facade to serve as a guide for those who would continue the work after his demise. If we get closer, we can see all the details and sculptures of the facade. Right on top of the column, we find the birth of Jesus.
Yeah, the real marketing from Gaudi, in addition to his incredible talent, is that he was like the one guy who thought that you shouldn't be afraid of God. If you look at every other fucking Catholic church facade, it's meant to be this like imposing, you know, tremble ye faithful as you enter the house of God. But if you look at everything Gaudi made, it's so welcoming. It's so like light and free, you know?
Theme from which the facade takes its name.
He was not a shame merchant the way most Catholics were.
The group reproduces the image of the traditional nativity scene, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph with an ox and a donkey. To the right, we see the shepherds who have come to adore the child. On the opposite side, the 3 magi are shown bearing gifts.
Love that bird.
And above the nativity scene, surrounded by musical angels, is the star that guided them on their journey from the Far East. At the bottom of the left portal, there's Mary riding a donkey with Jesus in her arms, and Joseph standing by her side.
Isn't that just sneaking authority on you via nice setting? Take it to the forums.
This image represents the Holy Family's flight into Egypt. In the opposite side of the right portal, we find an image of Jesus as he works in his father's workshop. Gaudi worked with real models, people from the neighborhood, and even members of his own team to achieve a great realism in these figures. He used plaster molds to create his stone statues. Right in the central portal, there are 2 turtles supporting the portal columns. The one on the left, which is the side closest to the sea,
Delightful.
has fins, and the one on the right, closer to the mountains, is a land turtle, so it has legs instead. In Gaudi's original project, this facade had to be polychrome, the archivolts of the 3 porticos in rich colors. All the statues would have been painted, human and animal figures, as well as the vegetation. However, up until now, this decoration has not been carried out, for the only color that you see is on the cypress tree. The doors are the creation of a Japanese sculptor who has been working on the temple for over 40 years.
Anyone else experiencing latency issues? Not this shit again, man. Okay, I'll work it in a bit. We're appreciating the majesty of God and his servants right now, okay?
Artists also created some of the sculptures that adorn this facade. To make the doors blend in with their surroundings, he filled them with many different species of plants and insects. It is now time to explore the interior of the temple. Only walking through the doors is an amazing experience, for you're struck with all sorts of sensations and a beautiful play of space, light, and color.
Jesus actually being shown at work at a carpenter's is shockingly rare now that I think about it. Again, Gaudi was a big humanist. He was like, you know, everything here, it's not about like the imposition of God's will over you or whatever. It's not about like, oh, you should feel guilty walking in here. It's just a celebration of life. That's why he'd be throwing shit like sea turtles in there, you know? Just like, God made everything, and everything's beautiful, so might as well throw all that shit in there, you know? Was he rich? He didn't
Something
own
very
the
interesting
church.
about this church is that it has no chapels in the aisles as most churches of this size do. And there's also very few statues and images in the interior. That's because the protagonist here is the space itself. The images and sculptural representations are located on the outside of the temple, and they tell the story of the life of Jesus. The architect designed this interior as if it were a huge forest. Nature is an essential influence in the work of Gaudi, so much so that he came to consider it his true master. That's why all of his buildings are so colorful, and they have all these organic shapes, as there are no straight lines in nature. Notice that the columns look like trees, and above they spread out like branches reaching up to the ceiling. This structure is not merely aesthetic, for the branches are actually supporting the vaulted ceiling. This solution allows the building to reach a great height without the need for the exterior reinforcements characteristic of medieval cathedrals. The combination of aesthetics and efficiency is a defining element of Gaudi's structures. The basilica could be described as a temple of light. The light pours abundantly through the large windows and the skylights set into the vaults. When you look up, you can see that the branches blend into the vaults, and it seems as though the vaults are the treetops, and you can even see glimpses of the sky through the leaves. Notice the different colors of the stained glass windows.
Can you actually take mass in here, or tourist activities prioritized? You can take mass in here, but it's mostly a tourist site, yeah.
The nativity facade, that is the east facade, features shades of blue and cooler tones in keeping with the morning light. In contrast, the west-facing windows on the other side are warmer, with the red and orange tones of a sunset. These stained glass windows form part of the Passion facade. The stained glass windows are work of art.
Apparently, the total construction cost of the Sagrada Familia, this incredible piece of art, is still less than $1 billion, even over the 144 years that it's been built, which means it costs approximately like 1/30th of what a bridge between Washington and Oregon cost, or 1/100th the cost of California high-speed rail. That's cool, man. Literally, like 1/3000th the cost of the SpaceX IPO.
Artist Joan Villagrao, who followed the.
I wonder how much the work done on it has been volunteers. Dog, you think volunteers are doing this shit? These are like the people working on the Sagrada Familia are like lifelong stonemasons. They've been working their whole. They've got people like the greatest fucking construction masters that have been working on it their whole lives. Like they started when they were 18 and now they're like 65 and they're the best at it and they have opinions. They have like a name for every brick they've laid. No, volunteers are not building the Sagrada Familia.
Guidelines established by Gaudi, and on their surface are written the names of saints and important shrines from all over the world. The tallest and thickest columns in the temple are the 4 columns in the crossing. They are made of porphyry, an extremely hard stone. When the temple is finished, these columns will support the Tower of Jesus Christ with a height of 172 meters. Gaudi wanted the tallest tower to be slightly
Answer my
lower
question,
than...
the wait time is 2 years. Would you get baptized Catholic so we can marry in Crypta de la Sagrada Familia? Yeah, I could get baptized Catholic so we could get married in the Crypta de la Sagrada Familia. Sure.
the nearby mountain of Montjuic. He is
Only 2-year wait time to get married in the Basilica? Huh.
quoted as saying that the work of man should never surpass the work of God. On the upper
Dude, he was on another level, man. You hear that shit?
172 meters. Gaudi wanted the tallest tower to be slightly lower than the nearby mountain of Montjuic. He is quoted as saying that the work of man should never surpass the work of God.
Just really operating on a different level, man.
On the upper section of the columns, there are notes with symbols. Each column is dedicated to one of the 4 evangelists. The lion is a symbol for Mark, the angel is for Matthew, the bull is a symbol for Luke, and the eagle is for John.
Weird
They
to see
get
someone actually believe what they believe, right?
their symbols because of the way their gospel starts. As in a real forest, here we find a variety of tree species. Notice the subtle differences in color, thickness, and texture of the many columns. They are made of various materials depending on the weight they must support. As I mentioned, the 4 red columns in the crossing are made of porphyry, and will eventually hold up the tallest and heaviest tower. The dark gray columns are made of basalt, while the light gray columns are granite, and the columns in the aisles are made of sandstone. Inside the temple, we find further references to the Holy Family. Just below the crossing on the floor is a mosaic with the initials of Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Above the door in the nativity facade, there's a sculpture dedicated to Saint Joseph. And on the opposite side, above the door of the Passion facade...
I'm so fucking mad that even the most banal wrote, like, copy and paste cookie cutter bridges cost $50 trillion in America, but for 144 years of building the most beautiful building on earth, it still costs less than $1 billion. It's fucking insane. It's actually so crazy.
is a statue of Virgin Mary. And in the center, above the altar, is the image of the crucified...
Nah, man, it's normal for bridges to cost like $10 billion. That's just what stuff costs nowadays.
Christ. Above the figure is a large suspended baldachin, inspired by the one Gaudi designed for the Cathedral of Majorca. It is decorated...
They took so much progress from us. Dude, unironically, like, capitalism has set back the productive gains we saw during the early advent of capitalism. I swear to God, it's just the fucking Industrial Revolution, man. The initial, like, burst of rational allocation of capital has faded, and now it's like everything is designed to rent-seek to the maximum possible. Like, the rent-seeking that is being conducted nowadays would have gotten you beheaded under any sane monarchy in times past.
With wheat and grapes, symbolizing the bread and wine of the Eucharist. 50 lamps illuminate the space in allusion to Pentecost, which commemorates the descent...
If you were a construction company working under the Medicis and you were like, oh, a bridge in Venice, that'll cost 500 fucking million dollary-doos or whatever they used back then, they would just, like, have you killed. Ductas, yeah. Ducats. If you were like, yeah, it's gonna be 500 ducats to build this, like, 20-meter bridge, they would just have had you killed.
Of the Holy Spirit upon the apostles, 50 days after Christ's resurrection. Over this baldachin there's a golden triangle below the apse vault, which represents God, the Creator. It is set in a skylight shaped like 2 hyperboloids, designed to catch sunlight on one side and disseminate it in the other. You can see several examples of this shape along the ceiling.
Just slapping beautiful shit everywhere, man.
If we look at the ground plan, you can see that the temple has a Latin cross plan, as usual in Gothic cathedrals. The transept runs from the Nativity facade to the Passion facade, and it's 60 meters long. The nave extends from the Glory facade to the apse, and it is 90 meters long. As I said before, the cloister surrounds the entire basilica. This makes it possible to hold processions inside without having to exit the building or cross the nave and aisles. This was a problem in Gothic cathedrals.
I'm not denying there's bloat, but a lot of that costs the chain of paperwork required for various materials and people's lives depend on dog. People's lives depend on proper construction for this, and this is much more difficult to build than any bridge on Earth. This is so much more difficult to build than literally any bridge, but it's cost less than $1 billion, even though they've been working on it for a century and a half. I promise you, we can easily make high quality materials. Like there is no everything is bad for no reason.
With this solution, the space of the church can occupy most of the block on which it stands. The basilica has a central nave and 2 aisles on either side, and there's a proportional relationship between them. The distance between each column in the aisles is 7.5 meters. If we double this number, we get the width of the nave, 15 meters. And if we double this number again, the result is the height of the aisles, 30 meters. The central nave rises to a height of 45 meters, which is another multiple of 7.5. The galleries on top of the aisles are reserved for the choir. You can see dark dots scattered across the railings representing musical notes in the scores of liturgical hymns. This is the interior of the Glory facade, which celebrates the eternal life brought by the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Once the building is completed, this will be the main entrance to the basilica.
The Catholics,
It was Gaudi's wish that the entrance to be located on the side of the temple that faces the sea. These are the main doors of the temple made of bronze. They are the work of sculptor Josep Maria Subirachs. In the center, the Lord's Prayer has been written in Catalan, and all around it, the following phrase has been translated into 50 different languages. Give us this day our daily bread. With this message, the Sagrada Familia welcomes all its visitors, no matter where they come from. Over the doors, we see a warrior-like figure. This sculpture is a representation of Saint George, the patron saint of Catalonia. To the right of the main entrance, there's a plaque that commemorates the consecration of the basilica by Pope Benedict XVI in 2010. The Glory facade is in a fairly early stage of construction. There is only the naked skeleton of the columns, arriving at a height of about 10 meters. As you can see, the main doors of the basilica are in a much higher plane than the street level. This is a challenge because
Why are we watching this? Because unlike our enemies, we love life. Unlike our opponents who, the only art they've ever consumed is anime, we love life and all the creation of God.
Very little space between the entrance and the sidewalk. To be able to give an adequate entrance to the temple, Gaudi designed a flight of steps over Mallorca Street in such a way that all the traffic will have to pass underneath, and the stairs should reach the opposite block. Just like the other 3 facades, this one will have 4 bell towers. The baptistry and the chapel of the sacrament will be on each side of the facade, parallel to the sacristies and the back of the temple. The most spectacular element of the assembly will be some constructions shaped as clouds that will be located on 16 large hyperboloid-shaped lanterns with a cone on the top. The lower 7 will
I hope I live to see that.
represent the days of the creation, and the upper 9, the angelic hierarchies. These clouds will have enormous inscriptions of the creed in Latin.
Credo in unum Deum Patrem omnipotentem factorem celi et terrae.
I've seen a couple websites say it costs around 25 million euros a year. I'm pretty sure like 25 million euros a year is the construction cost of like maybe 2 large apartment buildings in the United States. Like, $25 million of construction a year. Yeah, we filled up like 17th and Cheshire with that. Yeah, like that's 1 porta potty we installed in the corner. Single bus stop, 25 million.
Will surround an image of God. This is the apse of the basilica. There are 7 chapels along the corridor.
When you visited Spain, was not speaking the language fluently an obstacle for navigating around? Nah, Barcelona's a tourist city. There were plenty of people that spoke, like, functional English.
At floor level, there are several windows. Down there is the crypt, the oldest part of the temple. Thanks to these openings, Gaudi managed to make the natural light of the basilica reach the underground. The crypt of the Sagrada Familia contains the tomb of the temple's creator, Antoni Gaudi. When Gaudi died after being hit by a tram, thousands of people escorted his coffin here from the Barcelona cathedral. Gaudi worked on the basilica for 43 years, focusing exclusively on this project for the final 12 years of his life, and so he wished to be buried here. This crypt and the nativity facade are the only parts of the temple that the architect lived to see completed. In the doors of the Passion facade, made by the same artist as the main doors, you can see texts from the Gospels that narrate the Passion of the Christ. This is the most dramatic facade of the Sagrada Familia, the one that represents the Passion of Jesus Christ.
This one has like the crazy, I don't know what you call it, like cubist? Like the Picasso shit. This is the Picasso facade with the Romans.
On the far left, we see a group
look at how he be sculpting the faces, man.
Sculptures that represent the Last Supper. Right next to it, there's a figure of a dog lying down. The dog is a symbol of loyalty, which is shattered by betrayal, which is represented to the right by the figure of Judas kissing Jesus. If we continue, we find between the two doors the scourging of Christ. Further to the right, we come across Saint Peter, grieving after denying his master 3 times. And further, there's Pontius Pilate meditating on what to do with Jesus, seen at his side wearing the crown of thorns and flanked by 2 Roman soldiers. If you look to the left, nearly in the middle of the facade, there's Jesus carrying a cross as he walks up the Calvary. All the way to the left, just above the image of Longinus, the soldier that pierced the side of Jesus, we can see 3 seated figures. These are the soldiers playing dice for Jesus' clothes. And if we turn again to the right in the center of the facade, we find the image of Jesus crucified. On top of the bridge that links the 2 central towers, a golden figure stands out. It represents Jesus in heaven after the resurrection. So as despairing as it is, this facade also contains a message of hope. All the figures in this facade were made by Josep Maria Subirachs. The late artist worked on the temple for nearly 20 years and enriched it with his personal style. However, he was always keenly aware of his role in carrying on the work of Gaudi, and he strove to honor the architect in various sculptures. The Roman soldiers, for example, are not wearing typical Roman helmets, but helmets...
No, they're wearing like evil gladiator Star Wars magic helmets, you know?
It's inspired by the chimneys at La Pedrera.
Sure.
Another building that Gaudi built in the city of Barcelona. In this same group on the left, we find an even more obvious reference. The sculpture gave one of the evangelists the face of the architect himself.
I say you earned it, big guy.
Also, there's a square to the left of the sculpture of Judas' kiss. It's a magic square. If you add up any of the lines in any direction, the sum is always 33, Jesus' age at the time of his death. Gaudi drew what he wanted this facade to look like. He wanted to reflect...
If you're not on your grind set, this is your warning sign right now, okay? Where are you at 33? Jesus Christ was getting crucified and then resurrected 3 days later at 33. Where are you? You missed out on Amazon, you missed out on Tesla, you missed out on the SpaceX IPO, and now you're missing out on the resurrection.
Christ's passion and capture his pain. Look at the enormous leaning columns that frame the entrance. They look like tensed muscles, and the small columns above like ribs. In the words of the architect himself, this facade should be hard.
Hey buddy, you're 33 next year, what are you doing about it? Oh, my love, just you wait.
As if made of bones. Remember the Nativity facade? It's a great contrast between the exuberance of it and the austerity of the Passion facade. Next to the cloister,
Germa might have had Gaudi might have had this, but he never got to watch Germa baseball live. You literally don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know what he was seeing.
Sacristy, which you can identify by the shape of its dome and its triangular windows. This is where priests prepare and dress for Mass, and where the objects used during liturgical ceremonies are kept. On the pinnacles, you can see fruit baskets made of ceramic and pieces of glass. The freestanding brick building to the right houses the Sagrada Familia schools. Gaudi designed it for the sons and daughters of the temple workers. Its form drew praise from prominent architects of the 20th century, such as Le Corbusier.
He didn't just make some shit-ass shack or whatever. It's a permanent feature of the basilica.
Gaudi devoted much of his life to the construction of this masterpiece. In his final months, he even lived in it. However, he knew quite well that he would not live to see the temple completed. This explains why he left behind so many models and drawings, so that those who would continue his work would have some instructions to guide them. Since Gaudi's death, many people have invested their time, effort, and talent in the project. The Sagrada Familia is one man's dream, but it's also very much a collective effort.
Beautiful as it is, this thing's a nightmare to keep up. Yeah, but all that does, but it's, for one, it literally pays for itself. It's never received money from the Catholic Church or from the government of Spain. It pays for itself via ticket sales. For two, it does that in spite of the fact that it's been a non-stop nightmare build for 144 years. And job creator. Like, is this not what we are meant to do with our labor in a post-scarcity world? What happens when, like, industrial efficiency reaches the point where you don't need to work 8 hours a day to survive? I don't know, man. Maybe I'll be, like, cleaning pigeon shit off the sculptures at the Sagrada Familia. I would be happy to. What an honor. Like, unironically, every neighborhood should have a Sagrada Familia. Everyone should be like, what a lovely day. I already worked my 2 hours this week, you know, to maintain the basic living standards of all of humanity. I think I'm going to go out there and maintain the local atheist basilica.
You can see in this model the finished parts of the church in white. The Sagrada Familia has been in construction for over 140 years, and for a while it was intended to be finished in 2026, just 100 years after the death of Gaudi. However,
just the main tower.
COVID-19 pandemic, work had to be suspended for over a year, and now that date seems unlikely.
Should atheists build churches just because churches are cool to look at? It is kind of weird that culturally the only reason we can think of to make a beautiful building is because of God. Like, you could literally just make a giant ornamental building for any reason. You could make like you could be in Texas and you could be like, I'm gonna make a giant building that's like based on the Alamo. Like, it's not the Fort the Alamo, but it's like a you know, yeah, you could make a library. You could do anything. You could just do any. You could just build anything if you want to. I think the funding is a huge issue here. Christian churches have an ungodly amount of money. Again, I repeat, this church has never received money from the Catholic Church. It has always paid for itself via ticket sales. Yeah, which are provided at least largely initially by believers. Buddy, I'm gonna go back to the basilica. You don't need to believe in God to think this is a beautiful building. I promise you, we could have beautiful buildings everywhere. We just don't, because the people with the money are too busy raping kids. It's frustrating that the answer is so simple, but it really is that simple. Like, it's genuinely not any more complicated than that. I don't, my love. Good things are good and bad things are bad. That's fucking true, yeah. Why did the Sagrada Familia take 144 years to build? Well, have you looked at it? If you want to politicize this even further than it already is, remember that conservatives traditionally have not liked the Sagrada Familia because of its unorthodox design. The problem is that Gaudi loves life and loves everything in life, and the average conservative loves rape, mostly, so they don't like this. There are nice buildings that aren't churches. Many city halls are pretty. Yeah, but they're like rote. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we build our city halls pretty, but I don't know. A lot of them are just kind of samey. Copy and paste that shit.